Welcome to our program on immigration and public affairs. I am your immigration attorney Michael Fulwani, and once again we have with us attorney Madhvi Samudrala. Madhvi, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Before we start the program, let us wish our viewers a very happy 4th of July, which is on Monday. Attend the parade, have a lot of fun, and have a good day on that day.
Okay.
Madhvi, now we start the program with cutoff dates for the month of July 2011.
Okay. With the family preference, which is the first preference, unmarried children over 21 of US citizens. Unfortunately, there has been no movement this month too. It's still the same at May 1, 2004. The F2A, which is for spouses of green card holders as well as unmarried children under 21 of green card holders, has moved forward by 7 months to March 22nd, 2008. The F2B, which is for unmarried children over 21 of green card holders, has moved forward by 10 weeks to July 1, 2003. The F3, which is for married children of US citizens, has moved forward by 6 weeks to July 15, 2001. And the F4, which is for brothers and sisters of US citizens, again there has been no movement. It is still the same at March 8, 2000. The employment case is EB1, employment first preference priority for workers, is still current for all the countries including India. EB2, advanced degree holders, is current for most of the countries, and for India it has moved forward by 4 months and 3 weeks to March 8, 2007. The EB3, professionals and skilled workers, has moved forward by 3 weeks for most of the countries to October 8, 2005, and for India it has moved forward by only 1 week to May 1, 2002. EB3, other workers, has moved forward by 1 year and 2 weeks to November 22nd, 2004 for most of the countries. But for India it has moved forward by only 1 week to May 1, 2002. EB4, special immigrants, religious workers, EB5, investor categories, is still current for all the countries including India.
So basically it looks like a good news, especially in the family 2A category.
Yes, of course, yes.
And one thing that always comes into the mind when visa numbers move with this kind of good speed is, in some cases, it is about the time to look at the CSPA, because many people whose children would otherwise be left behind if they don't qualify under CSPA,
Right.
have to see when the visa numbers become available. And explain to our viewers, Madhviji, what's the importance of that item that I'm talking about, that now is the time for people to look at their approval notices and see about the CSPA.
With regard to the CSPA, of course, when the visa numbers do become available, the most important thing is that you should make sure that DS-230 Part 1, if the child qualifies under CSPA, of course the CSPA calculations, as most of you know, that the period that the petition was pending, we have deduct that period from the age of the child, see when the visa numbers become available, and on that time we need to see whether the child's age will come below 21. If it does, then the most important step is that the person has to file a DS-230 Part 1 on behalf of that child to the National Visa Center. If you don't take this step, and in the future the visa numbers, like for instance, I know in January the visa numbers were available until 2002 for F4 categories, and now it's gone back to 2000. So the numbers were available. So those people who were available under those categories should have filed the
So basically the importance of this thing,
yes,
when the visa number becomes available, is the time
yes,
that person has to do the calculation.
Right.
Because before that people keep on guessing.
Right, that's a guessing game, that's
But
right.
the moment they should look at the visa bulletin that you talked about, and if this number has become available in the month of July,
Right.
then they should calculate what is the age of the child in July
Right.
2011.
As per the CSPA.
As per the CSPA.
Right.
And then you can apply the formula, how much time immigration service took to approve the petition and minus the period from the age and all that. So that's a very, very important thing.
Yes, of course.
What we have been doing for this program, we have been looking at around us various items coming from the immigration surveys, the newspaper items, and see what is going on around us in the matter of immigration, updates on immigration policy issues.
Right.
There have been court decisions that are important sometimes, and there's one of the things that we just noticed, the importance of the what they call is
The B1 actually, the B1.
No. This I'm talking about the gay, lesbian marriages,
The same-sex marriages.
same-sex marriages.
Which was
And
recently.
in that context,
Yeah.
the very good news is that
New
Mayor
York.
Bloomberg was instrumental in that also.
Right.
And this goes by state by state. A lot of states already have the marriage is legal of gays and
Most of
lesbians.
this, yeah. So
New York, they've been trying, they failed a few times
Right.
because some of the Republicans were not
supporting
agreeable to
the,
that.
yeah.
And you know what happened really, I've been going through the history of this thing, that during this last election, quite a good number of young members that came from the Republican Party who are thinking differently than the previous ones.
Right.
So they supported now, this time.
The bill.
As a result of which
It was finally
the
passed.
bill was passed and it has been signed by the governor, and now it is the law. In New York, gays and lesbians can get married and it's legal.
Right.
However, the problem is still continues with the immigration service.
Yeah, in New York you're saying, what about New Jersey? Do you think something like
Yes,
this
absolutely.
is going to
That is the other thing
happen or no?
that's going to happen. After the New York has done it, the people are talking about in New Jersey now.
Right,
The
of
legislators say, well, next door neighbor has it. So why do people have to go from New Jersey to New York to
Get
get
married,
married?
yes.
Let us do it. I think I'm almost positive that it may happen in the next maybe few months or so.
Right.
So with the New York, New Jersey, both states permitting the legal marriages is a very good news. But again, as I said, that
What
the
is the
immigration
effect?
law says that is not valid.
Right.
And then there's a policy memo recently came in and talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. This policy memo did come from immigration. It's a June 21, 2011 memo where they talk about the Defense of Marriage Act, which is what they refer to when they're adjudicating applications. That it says that same-sex marriages are not recognized, and that's why they don't adjudicate.
They will not give a blanket
Yes.
okay.
Right.
But that memo says that
It's
on a
just
case-by-case
case by
basis, is a prosecutional discretion is there, that if somebody applies and that is denied, that they may not put that person in deportation.
Right.
But we have got more to talk about
Of
that, but
course.
it's time for a short break. And we'll be back right after the break and talk a little bit more about this and many other interesting items. So stay tuned.
So
Welcome back, and just before the break we were talking about this new law that has passed in New York, because this thing about legalization of marriages is on a state by state basis. There are some laws like immigration law, that's a federal law that applies all over the country no matter where the
Right.
person lives. But these kind of things, like whether a marriage is legal in a particular state or not, goes on a state by state basis. There are many of the states that have already passed it. Now New York, hopefully New Jersey soon, and hopefully the immigration service, the Congress may pass the law. There's already a bill pending in the Congress. We'll
Yes.
talk about that a little later.
Yes.
But there is a bill pending in the Congress in which they pass that bill, then that also will become legal, which means that once that is there, that a couple gets married and then applies for a green card or an immigration
They
visa,
will
he'll
be
be
able
able to
to.
get a green card
Yes.
because the immigration service will be recognizing that. Interesting thing, one of the lawyers have raised a very good point, and I was thinking the same way. The immigration law says that the immigration service will recognize the marriage
as long as it's
as
valid.
long as it is valid in the place it takes
performs,
place.
yes. That's
So why don't they should follow that by
Right,
itself, because if the New York state says it is valid,
Exactly.
or in India also, let us say the marriage is valid, then it's valid here.
right.
It's not valid there, it's not
It's not
valid
valid,
here.
exactly.
So that's the principle that will formalize in a lawsuit.
Right. Yeah, but then immigration, of course, referring to Defense of Marriage Act, and in that is basically under that they are taking that benefit to say that because of that, until that act is repealed, that's what the immigration has given it. Until that act is repealed, they will still continue to, as Mr. Kulwani also previously said, on a case by case, yes, discretionary basis.
So if
is
you are
there.
in that situation, our gay, lesbian friends, viewers, whoever, you want to get married, go ahead and get married if you live in New York,
Yeah.
no problem at
Right.
all. But don't file the papers for
Yes.
immigration
Because we
until
don't
we
have
have a clear law on
exactly. Okay.
that. Now, on the other item that we want to talk about is abuse of B1 visas.
Yes,
Let me give you a chance to talk about that. About the B1 visas,
Yes.
what is happening is that some of the people are misusing
Basically the B1 visas are, as a lot of people know, the B1 visas is basically a person who's coming to the US to do business or benefit a company in India, and he or she does not get any remuneration for the work being done in the US. A lot of big companies do use B1 visas, but that is only on a case-by-case basis and only for a certain purpose, and then they go back, the employees go back, they're not compensated here, they don't receive remuneration here, and whatever work is done here is for the benefit of the company back home, it's not for the people here. But we have heard that there have been some people or some organizations.
Actually, some websites in India, people have been putting in ads on that. Naukri.com is one of them.
Right.
And many of those kind of things, they say that
you can come and work on
go to US to work on a H1B or a B1.
Right.
They are clubbing. The H1B is like the same thing.
Right.
Now there is something like a B1 in lieu of an H1B. Also. But they found that there's a lot of abuse. That's not for the purpose of coming and working in the company in the US. But it's misinformation. They are misguiding people that it's okay to use a B1 visa to go to US
and work here.
That's not the case, and that's a big problem. At the airport only, when they reach let's Kennedy Airport, the CBP officer is going to interview them and ask them
what
is the purpose,
here? Exactly.
what visa you got a B1, I'm coming here to work in this company.
Right.
Come, boom, back home.
Right.
So this is going to be a very big problem.
And don't get fooled by these ads. I know a lot of people, you might have relatives in abroad, in India or other places, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and who might see these ads and then they have this same question, yes, oh, I have a B1 visa, that means I can come and work in the US. No, that is not the right answer. The only way that you could come and work is, of course, on H1B, for which you need an employer to offer you a job, file the H1B petition. All those requirements are there. B1 is not for coming and working in a US company and getting remuneration.
A senator has already introduced a bill to prohibit advertising of this nature.
Right.
And
because this is misleading advertisements.
That's
actually, and people don't know the rules and regulations, and they may just blindly believe these ads.
And knowing the American consuls how they work, believe me, going forward now, if anybody is applying for a B1 visa, especially the technology companies or pharmaceutical companies or the companies that frequently send people to the US to work in, consuls are going to be very hard in interviewing them, asking them tons of questions. There will be denial rate on B1 visas will increase substantially, especially coming from those kind of companies.
Yeah, because now I guess because of these misleading ads, the consulate also is aware of what's going on, and they will strictly scrutinize each and every application and interview each and every applicant, make sure it is the purpose that person is going is the B1 purpose and not otherwise.
Okay, so let's move on to another item. That there's news released from the Immigration Service that ICE arrested 2,400 criminal aliens, fugitives in enforcement operations throughout all the 50 states. And what they are doing now, they are doing like a cross checks. Now the cross check means they are not only looking at their immigration record or immigration, they are going to the various agencies.
Right.
And it can come from any of the agencies and a cross check. And once they find out the person is a criminal or has a record, then they are going to go and arrest them. And this is the emphasis that the Immigration Service is putting in. 2,400 and many more. I know that there have been a substantial increase in arresting for deportations of people who have committed crimes.
Yeah, but this is in accordance with the memo that they released some time back, and in December, again in March, I think the same thing, saying that we will not do it for each and every case, but we will definitely look on those cases where a person has a criminal background. He has committed crimes, he's a threat to the security of this country, he might be a terrorist. So these are grounds, of course, if you have a criminal record, that is one of the indicators that they might put you in deportation proceedings also.
I am 100% in agreement with that if somebody has committed serious crimes,
right,
and that person should be deported.
Of course, yeah.
The problem that sometimes comes to our attention that in that process of cross checks, some people who have not committed crimes also come into the picture and they get arrested, and there has been a lot of hue and cry that that policy is not implemented in the proper manner, and there should be some strict guidelines. We are waiting for Obama administration to have strict, clear guidelines that do not arrest people unless they come into contact in connection with a criminal activity or something, just because a person is staying illegally here or overstaying.
Right.
But that's the way it was. Life is like that, Madhviji.
Yes.
People come into contact, they get arrested, they get deported sometimes. I think it's the time for a short break. Let us take a short break, and right after the break, I think our community leader, Mr. Yashpal Soy, is going to come in. We're going to talk about some interesting subject.
And I think this is very important for
And
our viewers.
the new immigration bill that
has been introduced also.
So
yes, of
stay
course.
tuned, we'll be back.
Reservations Sunday 12.
Welcome back, and this is the public affairs segment of our program. We have now with us our community leader, Mr. Yashpal Soy. Yashpalji, welcome.
Thank you, Mike.
Before we start this segment, let us wish our viewers a very happy 4th of July.
Today we are going to celebrate the independence of the United States. That's when the United States became independence. On July 4th, it's a big day, as August 15 is big day for,
Big day.
for
Now just
our
let me say a few words, and then I'm going to give it to you. Lot of our people in the communities celebrate these days,
Yeah.
4th of July and all other days which are patriotic, we can say.
Right.
But are many symbols that we have, Statue of Liberty, American flag and all that. But not all people know about them. They just celebrate, 4th of July, chutti hai, chalo, all that.
Well-
So what we're going to talk about, I'm going to have Mr. Yashpal Soy talk about some of these things like Statue of Liberty, the history, what it stands for, history of the American flag, what is about the White House, and about the bald eagle, the Liberty Bell, and the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States, and all these things are very, very important to know for our people, right?
And it's about time we explain them everything. I think July 4th is the #1 holiday of this country. And we always talk about Statue of Liberty. Let me tell you, the Statue of Liberty was given as a present by France to USA on July 4, 1884. It is a beautiful symbol of friendship. It is a symbol of freedom throughout the world. 2 years later, in 1886, the statue was opened for public visit, and even now millions of people have visited the Statue of Liberty. It stands firm for the total independence of the people and of this country, and people who come here are totally free to do their enterprise, and that is the symbol of freedom. Right?
Yeah.
And now you'll ask me about the banner.
The banner, our star spangled banner, and there's a big history behind that.
Right.
That initially when this flag came into existence, there were a certain number of, I think, about 15 stripes.
13 states.
13
right?
states.
Yeah.
And I think 15 stripes were there, right?
13 stripes and 50 stars.
That's what is now.
Yeah.
That's what is now. But initially when it started,
13 stars and 13 stripes, each stripe for each state.
so because at that time only that small number of states had joined the federal
They are the one who declared the independence. So, that
and
is...
slowly it went to 50, and today the American flag represents 13
Stripes,
and 50 stars.
yes, sir. And it's a symbol which is to be proud of. And
I think going to the history, I think it was in 1880 when
Yeah.
President James Monroe
Right.
signed a bill declaring that the flag would have 13 stripes to symbolize the original 18 colonies. They were colonies, 18 colonies.
Right.
I'm sorry, 13 colonies.
13 colonies.
And a star would be added for each state.
Yeah.
Since then it has been changed 24 times.
Right.
And today with all the states joining, 50 states. Today we have 50 stars.
So, I think in every baseball game, any football game, any big event, the Stars Spangled Banner is relayed, is shown, is furled, and we sing the national anthem on that day.
Yeah.
And so this country is based on the democratic principle and nationalistic principles, and so the independence of this country is kind of worshipped by all of us.
Let's talk about the White House.
Yes,
White
sir.
House is White House. What is the White House? Basically, it's a symbol of our president and our elected government.
Right.
It's among the most famous buildings in the world. Anybody who comes to the US goes to Washington DC to see, because they see on the TV all the time White House and president giving speeches from there and all that. And every president has lived in the White House except George Washington, because at that time
He was the war president, and
the construction of the White House began in 1792, and the building was ready in November 1800 when John Adams was the president of the United States.
Right.
In 1814, the British burned the White House,
Yes.
but it was rebuilt again.
Right.
And the president's office is called the Oval Office. Many times you see President Obama sitting there
Right.
and talking from the Oval Office.
Right.
And presently they live there. I mean, the family of the
There's a
president
living White House. Yeah.
in the upper 2 floors of the White House.
Yeah.
The family and president live there.
Right.
The rest of the offices and for conference and all that. And by the way, I have been to the White House in, I think, President Carter's time. A group of Indian leadership were invited, and I went to the White House for a briefing.
Yeah.
So I still remember, I have those memories.
Yes, I've been there too, and I tell you, you feel something different there, something very patriotic, something to be proud of. And Mike, both of us are U.S. citizens,
Absolutely.
and of course, we are very proud of our motherland, India. We are equally proud of India, but independence is here, and let's celebrate it.
Let's talk about something else. There's a bird.
Yes.
Bald
eagle.
Like, this is a national thing. Basically, in 1987, the bald eagle was put on the endangered species.
Right.
But then, thanks to the federal government, then they declared that to protect them, and it was removed from that list in 2007. So now it has been removed. There's a lot of
Yeah,
there are a lot
but
of bald eagles
still,
now.
bald eagle is the living symbol of United States.
It was found in North America.
Yeah.
And its white head feathers make it appear as if it is bald. It's
Right.
not bald, but the white feather, they look like that. But the name bald eagle comes from an old word,
Piebald.
which means marked with white.
Yes.
And this eagle becomes our national symbol in 1782. Our founding fathers wanted a bird that symbolized strength, courage, and freedom.
Of course. And then the Liberty Bell.
Right.
The Liberty Bell was originally made in England for the Pennsylvania State House. It was rung when the Continental Congress signed the Declaration of Independence in 1776. The first bell from England cracked, a second bell also cracked, and this third one, made by John Pass and John Stowe, also began to crack in the mid-1800s. Today, the bell is still rung gently on Independence Day in Philadelphia.
And I've been there, I've seen the crack and I've seen the original bell.
Yeah.
Now end with one last thing, the rose. The rose.
Is a national flower.
It was national flower just 25 years ago, when President Ronald Reagan signed the resolution in the Rose Garden of the White House. With that, we come to an end of the program, and once again, a very happy 4th of July. Go attend the parade, have a lot of fun, and don't forget to watch this program every Saturday.
At 2 p.m. and do a lot of
1
fireworks
p.m.
today.
Just see 1 p.m.
1 p.m. on
Every
Saturday, every Saturday on TV Asia, right here. We are here to help you. We are here to serve you. Happy Independence Day.
And thank you very much for watching the program.
When writing your